budget process of making sure that the actual costs of operating the utility are borne by the utility and not by the Department of Public Works. You know, we have a somewhat unique organizational structure, and I think there are great benefits to having the water utility housed within the geographical space of DPW. The sewer utility also gives us some really great opportunities and benefits. But one of the challenges is because we're also intertwined in really just parts of the same pool, is that sometimes it becomes easy to, you know, we utilize each other's equipment, we utilize each other's staff, each other's resources, and we, I think, just need to do a much better job of accurately recording equipment usage and time and making sure that the utility costs are truly borne by the utility and its ratepayers and not the Village of Shorewood and its taxpayers. Though most of the time those are the same people. You know, the purpose of an enterprise fund is to accurately have its users pay the rates, you know, based on the actual performance of that utility. So we're trying to improve those record keeping and operations. And in that vein, we anticipate doing improving our processes on fuel reporting, the use of fuel in utility trucks, and then also the use of DPW trucks by the utility for items such as main breaks and other work that they do. We believe we can increase those revenues to DPW from the utility based on the actual charges. The second item relates to the new recycling contract with Waste Management. The first bullet under that is that we project the rebate revenue will decrease about $16,000. And the reason for that is when we structured the new contract, we asked the responders, the different contractors that submitted proposals, to more accurately reflect the material rates and the sales rates of those materials on the open market in their fees. When we had our previous contract, you know, that industry is completely different than it was 10 years ago. You know, and at that point, there really wasn't, it was much more difficult to project any type of rebate revenue or revenue from the sale of materials. That was a new frontier 10 years ago. And things have changed dramatically, and it's much easier for those entities to predict what those resale markets and rates will be for that material. And we ask them to accurately reflect that within their proposals to us. There is still a rebate, and that really is more of an incentive to improve our tonnages and rather than just simply sale of materials.
Question on that, should I wait? Okay, thank you. In our memo in March, it stated that when we were making the decision to go with which company, it stated that we would get recycling rebate was expected to increase from 41 to 65,000. So we were going to get a $20,000 increase in recycling. Did they have a different metric they were using?
At that time, that was our projection. That was our best guess based on the information provided. Upon approval of the contract and subsequent communications with them, they gave us a very specific metric for the rebate, and that is this number.
And it wasn't the same for both contractors? I just want to make
No,
sure.
the rebate structure, there was, each contractor who submitted a proposal had an entirely different rebate structure. There was no consistency to their rebate structures whatsoever.
The only reason I ask is if there is a significant change in the bidding structure like that and pricing, I don't know when it's proper to come back to them.
Well, I will say that when we, village staff, made a projection as to our anticipated rebates moving forward, we did it as an educated guess based on what we knew at the time, which was really based on our previous contract. And that as I said, that road changed, and the updated information that they gave us is different. The good news, I guess, is that the collection costs under the new contract do decrease fairly significantly. So our costs for curbside collections and collections from the different municipalities or municipal stations and schools, we are projecting to reduce by a total of just over $26,000.
Did you, when you're projecting the rebate revenue for recycling, are you assuming an increase in the waste in that stream, or that it's the same?
We used, if I recall correctly, a very modest increase in materials. And I believe it's a very conservative estimate.
Because a lot of people have 2 carts now.
But many don't. So we do believe our tonnages will increase.
But I think the net number of carts is going to go up. Like I have a recycling cart now, and you're going to give me a second one, and I'll fill it.
Well, and the key point about that was, that's a really good point. If we don't look at revenues that often when we are in budget deliberations, we typically focus on the expenditures, but in this situation, I remember the guy, when he came up, said the most significant, and Paul, Trustee Zoic, you might remember this, the most significant change in actual moving that needle comes when you go from a bin to a cart and to a cart. So saying that, just by mere factor of going from a bin to a cart, there should be some revenue in here for that rebate.
There is revenue. It is less than our current.
But, right, and I'm just questioning that I would assume this is the biggest jump of recycling increase we're going to see over the next 10 years, because we're going from the small bin to the cart. And that was one of the things we took into consideration during deliberations.
If I could just add, I didn't advocate for changing fundamental metrics based on a program we're still trying to implement. I think that's going to be extremely valid come next year's budget when we have a history to see not only is our collections for recycling tonnage going up, but the other positive is our collections for refuse will go down. So that's a two-sided trend mover, and when we have some history on that, 6 to 8 months when we start preparing our next budget, we will definitely amend our metrics to include those new factors.
Well, then I'd like to add that to the list as a revenue change. I think there is going to be some, we're implementing it this year, correct? So by January, we would have the new uses.
As I said, we did adjust for some. This is really, to be honest, this is the level I'm comfortable with, that I feel very, I feel is very reasonable. Is it possible that the rebate will be larger if we significantly increase our projected tonnage? Absolutely. At this point, if you're asking my opinion, I'm not comfortable doing that at this point.
I understand. I think that's how we get our decisions, so I'd like to add it to the list.
Well, if I might, I think this is, at this point, you're challenging staff projections and modeling. I'm not sure if that's
I'm not sure that's a budget.
Is it simply fair to say that what we've got here is higher volume but lower cost per ton?
Yes.
So
And I will say, to be very candid, it's not significantly higher volume. It is a modestly increased volume. But the rebate structure is significantly different. And I don't recall exactly, I apologize, I should. Our current rebate structure is we receive 50% of the proceeds from the sale of materials monthly. If I recall correctly, under the new structure, we receive somewhat less than half of that. So it's south of 25% of the proceeds. So it's significantly different, and in order to make up that difference, we will have to double our tonnages. which is not impossible, but it is going to take a little work and it's going to take some educational programs. But that is somewhat offset by the reduced cost of, you know, the contracted collection fees.
Thank you.
So we'll put that as a notation for the wrap-up, Trustee Meyer?
But what's the notation
To vote to see if
to
we
accept
want to
the,
increase the staff
To see if
recommended
we
fees.
challenge the
Yeah,
staff recommendation?
challenge the expert.
there is no,
I mean, let's just be
I'm
frank
just
here,
going off
that's
what
what it
the
is.
expert or the staff told us when we were making a decision on which contractor, which kind of recycling we needed. So I'm not challenging the expert, I'm going
You
on the
kinda really
information
are.
that's given.
What, we spent that for costs.
I mean, you guys are making fun of me, so I think I can defend myself.
Well, I just want to frame the item for the wrap-up discussion. I'm not intending,
I know you're not.
you know,
Thank you. The only reason I said that was the same staff person, when we were making the decision, said something different. And so I would like to clarify why that's changed. I don't understand it that well. It can be offline, but I would like to keep that open. And last year I was told, if you don't put it on the list, you're not allowed to talk about it.
Why don't you contact her directly?
I'm putting it on the list to make sure that that happens.
I'm curious about it too, and I would like to know what the answers are rather than have her talk about it offline.
Sure. As I mentioned
okay.
a moment ago, that was based on the information provided to us by the contractors at the time. We have since received different information.
Maybe you can just send that out,
Send which,
whatever the new
Your
information is.
calculator, the information.
absolutely.
Thank you.
So that's what you're,
But I don't understand if you award a contract under a bid, then we've awarded the contract under those terms. And then the contractor comes back and says, oh, I'm wrong, my rebate is 50,000 less than what I told you.
But that is
Awarded
not,
me
that
the
isn't
bid.
what happened. Exactly.
Exactly.
can we prepare a memo that summarizes those series of events for wrap-up?
Sure.
Thank you.
Dan, you want to keep going with
Yep.
the presentation?
The third point is an increase in insurance premiums for liability and general property and workers' compensation. And together, those amounted to just over $30,000 in increased premiums for 2018. So our accomplishments for 2017 include administration of $1.3 million in capital improvement projects, which maybe in the grand scheme of things doesn't seem like a lot, but typically each project has, we have a base level of upfront work, in-process work, and closeout work. And that doesn't vary dramatically based on, whether it's a $400,000 project or a $4 million project. So, in fact, our odd calendar years, we tend to, our capital improvements tend to be significantly less from a value standpoint than they do in our even calendar years, but the work is often greater. So, and the second level would be that, I believe that we've maintained a high level of service provision to residents and the administration of those construction contracts with some pretty significant staff turnover. To date, we've had 2 retirements. We have 3 more anticipated by the end of the year. We also had 3 other positions turnover. 2 of them were our choice. One of them, the employee relocated out of state for family reasons. So, but just those 5 retirements, it's a total of 122 years of combined service to the village of Shorewood.
Some very expertise.
And some very expertise people that, no one is irreplaceable, but some of them will be extremely difficult.
When you're budgeting and someone with a lot of experience, and I presume a high rate of salary, they've built up their salary over the years, do you budget that a replacement will come in at a lower salary rate?
Yes,
Yes.
So that's in the salary projections.
yes.
Okay.
And on that same note, so one of the policy issues we've considered is, rebuilding our workforce for 2018 to adjust for the people that we lost in 2017, but also I'm mindful that in 2018, 5 additional employees will hit that 20-year service mark, which makes them eligible for retirement under WRS. So we have it's a very real possibility that in a span of 24 months, more than half of our workforce will turn over.
Is that recorded in here, Mark, on extra, it looks like benefit for retirement?
We've tried to factor in what we know at this point.
I-
To be sure.
They will not all leave. I know that for a fact. But they are eligible too. But we have not had indications, about half I'd say, we've had indications that they will likely retire, but some of them I know will not. And then, the other policy issues, upcoming capital projects included in the long-range financial plan. I don't have to tell you that there are a significant number of infrastructure improvements planned over the next 5 to 10 years. And that in recent years, and when I say recent years, I really probably mean the last 5 to 10, has become